Yo, what is up guys? So we're going to go over a bunch of new rulings for a bunch of new cards, specifically in Lair of Darkness, but it can also still apply to a lot of other Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But anyways, I'll link this down below. It's the full site with a bunch of the rulings as well as the source. But I'm here to kind of give you guys like the too long didn't read version of this. Now some of these are actually pretty interesting. You'll be actually pretty surprised by some of these rulings. Now we're also going to be reading the cards just so we can go over their full effects, and then I'm going to explain what the ruling is in the exact scenario. So first off, Lair of Darkness. All face-up monsters on the field become dark. Once per turn, if you attribute a monster or monsters to activate a card or effect, you get to attribute one dark monster your opponent controls as if you control it. Once per turn during the end phase, special summon as many shadow tokens that are Fiend, Dark, level 3, attack 1000, defense 1000 as possible to the turn player's field and defense position up to the number of monsters that were attributed this turn while this card was face up on the field. Alright, so first off, the effect of you being able to tribute your opponent's monster, technically you still don't control that monster, which is something that we'll get into in a second. But the first ruling that I do want to go over is the special summoning of tokens. The player that activated a Lair of Darkness is going to be the player that can actually choose where those tokens go. So that will be pretty relevant for, of course, link format. So yeah, that's mostly an upside, but anyways, yeah, the player who activated Lair of Darkness gets to decide where those tokens go. And the other effects we'll get into once we get into the other cards. So first off, Grinning Grave Virus. So this card is a trap card that says tribute one dark monster with 3000 or less attack. Your opponent destroys one card in their hand and or deck for every 500 attack the attributed monster had on the field. Also, if you attribute a monster with 2000 or more attack, check all cards your opponent draws until the third of their turn after this card's activation and destroy all monsters among them. Cards destroyed and sent to the graveyard by this card effect cannot activate their effects during the turn that they were destroyed. So, there's a lot to take in here. So, first off, it says tribute a dark monster with 3000 or less attack. So, logically, you'd think I can tribute any monster, right? Wrong. The monster actually has to have 500 attack, which I thought was an interesting ruling because it needs to apparently at least destroy one card in their hand or deck. Now, if these conditions can't be met, let's say you're tributing a monster with 500 attack, they have to destroy one card. If they don't have that card, you can still activate this effect. Some other cards, which is another card that we'll get into in a second, you're going to actually need to meet like the requirements for the amount in your deck, even if something is chained to it. So let's say that you tributed a monster with 1000 attack. They would have to destroy two cards, right? And if they only have one, they still have to destroy that one. It doesn't like negate the effect or make it so you can't activate the effect. All right, and then that's the ruling for Grinning Grave Virus. So the monster actually does have to have at least 500 attack. That's kind of the important thing, because I was thinking you could just do any, but at that point, well, why even activate that card? But at the same time, yeah, that's how it's ruled. Next up, Duke Shade, the King of Umbra. So this is a dark monster that says you contribute any number of dark monsters to special summon this card from your hand. If you do, this card gains 500 attack for each attributed monster. If this card is normal or special summon, you get to target a level 5 or higher dark monster graveyard and add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of it once per turn, and then you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effects except for dark monsters. Now, this effect over here that says you can tribute any of dark monsters, you can still apply this to Lair of Darkness, which lets you tribute a dark monster that your opponent has as if you controlled it, because everything technically becomes dark with this. However, you cannot tribute multiple monsters with this effect that your opponent controls. Even though it does say you can tribute any number, Lair of Darkness still actually has that effect applied, where it still actually is one, if that makes sense. But that should be pretty simple. But again, dude, when I saw this card, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But yeah, like I said, with Lair of Darkness, the effect still like technically applies to it. Another thing that is interesting, Thunder King actually has some interesting interaction with Arima, the King of Wickedness. So this card, let me read this card's effect. Well, I guess we should go over Thunder King's effect, which is neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand, which is part of Thunder King's effect, except by drawing them. Now, Arima, the King of Wickedness, has the effect where you can discard this card to add 1 Lair of Darkness. Obviously, you can't do that effect, but you can tribute 1 dark monster to draw 1 card. But if you tributed a dark monster other than this card, you get to add 1 dark monster with 2,000 or more defense from your deck to your hand instead. Now, you can still activate this effect, so it's kind of partial, if that makes sense. You can still activate that effect to draw, but you cannot actually get the search off of it. And that is an instead effect, so you can still technically apply the effect. Some cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, as you guys know, if it has like multiple different effects, even if you're not activating that other effect, you still can like negate it. For example, even if you're activating Macrocosmos, Macrocosmos technically special summons a card. You can summon it, even if you don't have like the appropriate targets, or if you're not even activating that effect, you still can negate this. Now in this case, Thunder King cannot stop the drawing effect, which is again kind of interesting, even though it's 2 different effects of it, but that's just how it's going to be ruled. Alright, next up, Darkus Diablos Lair, Lord of the Lair. This one actually is a pretty important ruling, because going back to Lair of Darkness, it says that you contribute a dark monster your opponent controls as if you controlled it, but it actually doesn't work with Darkus Diablo in the way that most people would want it to. So this is an important ruling for him. So anyways, let's go over his full effect. So anyways, your opponent cannot tribute this card. They also cannot target it with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Darkus Diablo, Lord of the Lair, once per turn. So the first effect is, if a dark monster you control is tributed, you get to special summon this card from the graveyard. If it was sent there when that monster was tributed, or the hand, even if not. The other effect is you can tribute 1 dark monster your opponent places 1 card from their hand on either the top of or the bottom of their deck. Now, really quick, this effect over here, the second effect of it, where you're tributing a dark monster and your opponent places 1 card from their hand, you do not get to see that card. That's kind of like the X-Saber card. There are cards usually it'll like reveal, but you do not get to see that card. But the most important ruling with Darkus Diablos, Lord of the Lair, is actually in the effect of, if a dark monster you control is tributed, you could just special summon this card from the graveyard, which that's a pretty good effect. Of course, with Lair of Darkness, you would then be able to get it out, but you can't. And that's an important ruling, because I thought you were going to be able to do that, because again, it says you could tribute 1 dark monster your opponent controls as if you controlled it. That's in the card's text, but that doesn't work like that. It actually has to be a card you actually control. So, I mean, you guys can argue about it in the comment section below. I really feel like this one's unfair. Like, Darkus Diablos is definitely getting the short end of the stick. I don't know if they'll change it, but that's currently how it's ruled, and I'm really surprised by this. Is anyone else surprised by that? But anyways, next up, Lilith, Lady of Lament over here. So she's level 3 Dark Feed, 2000 attack, but we're going over the rulings for her. Anyways, it says the original attack of this normal summon card becomes 1000. Quick effect, you can contribute 1 dark monster, reveal 3 normal traps from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks 1 for you to set to your field, and you shuffle the rest back into your deck. You can only use this effect of Lilith, Lady of Lament, once per turn. So the first part of this effect over here, the card's stats, if the card is Book of Moon or reset, or if it forgets its effect, so Effect Vader, Skill Drain, a lot of these other cards, it will actually change the attack to 2000. Not that that's too relevant in the game, like Book of Moon in 2018, who planned that, right? But nonetheless, it does reset the attack. I don't know why they put that there, but it was in there. I figured it might be randomly important. But anyways, because I guess it could be for the effect of the trap attributes, but anyways, the second part of its effect, where you distribute 1 dark monster, reveal 3 normal trap cards from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks 1 of them for you to set. If something is activated for you to actually draw a card, like a chainable or like hand destruction or anything that would let you like add a card, if you actually do not have the full effect of the being able to reveal those specific 3 normal trap cards, you can't actually activate that card's effect, which is interesting, because going back to the other card, if you don't meet the requirements, it's just like, oh, go ahead and get as many as possible for the destruction, and that would be due to like Green Grave Virus. Again, some of these rulings, I just feel like they gotta stay consistent here, but yeah, yeah, and then you can only use this effect of it. Oh, there was another one. I actually didn't. Hold on, let me go back to the organization. There was one. It was Dark Samorg. Oh, some more. Okay, so this was another one in here. It's if you activate the effect of Lament, but your opponent changes call taunted and special summons Dark Samorg. Who played Dark Samorg in 2018? Alright, but what happens? It says in this scenario, the effect of Lilith Lady Lament will resolve while the effect of your opponent's Dark Samorg prevents you from setting cards. Since you can't set cards, the effect does not apply. You do not reveal any normal trap cards from your deck, so therefore, also while the effect of Dark Samorg is applying, you can't activate the effect. You can't even activate it, but basically, since you can't set the cards, the effect does not apply, so it would be stopping it like halfway through, again. So I guess, man, this guy is countered by Dark Samorg. Alright, and another thing that was interesting, which, I mean, it is kind of relevant for certain cards that, like, take control and stuff like that. For example, if you activate something that makes a card immune to spells and traps, Lair of Darkness will not be able to actually apply, even though it's as if you controlled it. So that's just, there are, again, some cards where it's like, even if it's unaffected by, like, certain cards, if you control it, you can, like, tribute it anyways. There are certain cards like that. I remember back in the towers, this was like it was another thing that people had argument with. This one was like the 500 IQ. I really don't even know. These are like low rated like rulings. Okay, they actually put this one in here. I don't know who asked this, but apparently someone had to have asked this, or I don't know who would have actually played Doom Caliber Knight in 2018. But anyways, so this is actually a very funny one. Alright, so Doom Caliber Knight says it cannot be special summoned during either player's turn. If a monster effect is activated, tribute this face-up card, negate the activation if you destroy that monster. Now, the ruling, or the question was, if my opponent activates something, can I tribute their monster if I have Doom Caliber Knight? I don't know how. Okay, at what point does Doom Caliber Knight say, like, tribute a dark monster? It says tribute this face-up card. You cannot tribute your opponent's card to activate the effect of Doom Caliber Knight. Do you know how amazing this card would be? Oh my gosh. They would actually make Doom Caliber Knight, like, meta at that point. Or at least so much more viable, but it's so easy to get rid of this card. And on top of that, your opponent can just activate a hand trap. Doom Caliber Knight, terrible. But I appreciate the effort, though, that someone tried to make Doom Caliber Knight viable with, of course, the Lair of Darkness. But again, these are just some important rulings. If you guys got any more good rulings, actually, hold on. This might not be good because like this has like the source of it, and it's from like the database of Yu-Gi-Oh, so it's like credible. But if you guys got any other questions, I'll try to answer them. But again, I think that the effect of the Darkest Diablo is kind of unfair. I don't know if like the exact wording translation, but it says as if you controlled it, and this says as if you controlled it, and it says like you controlled. This says as if you controlled it. I don't know. I just feel like that's a little unfair, but I don't know. So basically, guys, those are the rulings. Let me know, guys, your thoughts. Were you surprised by any of these? Did you know all of them? Because with the Great Engrave, I was unaware that it had to actually have 500 attacks. I thought you could just tribute it. It just says 3,000 or less. So, even though more than likely you would want to have attacks so you can actually destroy something, but in the random chance that you really need to tribute something to get like a token via Lair of Darkness, yeah, that's pretty good. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this helps you guys out with rulings, because, you know, on a dueling book, definitely going to be helping out over there. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you learned something new, or if you just enjoyed the vid, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos.